Okay, you all, it is finally time for me to bring you all my full video review of this monster receiver from 1978, the Sansui G-8000, or what I like to call Beauty and the Beast. Alright, let's get into this. Hey everyone, it's TJ, the Stereo-Bargainphile, and you all, I am so fired up today to bring you my full in-depth video review of this vintage gem of a monster receiver from 1978, the Sansui G-8000. Now you may be asking, why do I personally call it a monster receiver? Well, it doesn't have anything to do with its size. It doesn't have anything to do with that the G-8000 is Sansui's second biggest receiver they ever made. The reason why I call it a monster receiver is because when I brought this amplifier home, my 14 different set of speakers all went into hiding. That's right, you all, my speakers are scared of this amplifier, and they have every right to be. This is a pure power DC amplifier, which basically means, you all, it is very high current. I mean, this amplifier has some real balls to it. Now, to kick this video off today, I just want to talk real quickly about some really cool history with Sansui, and then I'm going to talk about the size and dimensions with you all, and then, yes, I will talk about the overall sound performance and tonal character subjectively, and I will have a comparison for you all to give you a better idea of how the Sansui performs, and then we'll have a close-up look like we always do, all the way around this monster receiver. And then not only am I going to pop the hood to take you for a deeper dive inside, but we're also going to pop the trunk as well, because I want to show you all the bottom of that amplifier also. So now, let's get straight into it, you all. Everyone, now just real quickly before I jump into this full video review, I want to talk to you all about the history of how Sansui was actually founded. Now, if you don't know, in Japanese, Sansui just simply means watering. But I just want to go over this with you all very quickly because some people may not know this. Now, Sansui was founded by Mr. Kikuchi way back in, like, I think 1947. But before that, you all, back in the early 1940s, before World War II, Mr. Kikuchi was actually working for a radio parts store. They actually made a little electronic components for the big stereo manufacturers. And one thing that really used to upset Mr. Kikuchi was that these parts that he was building, these little electronics, were made very cheap. And he always knew that if you made good quality parts, not only would you get good quality sound, but also the amplifier would last for a long time. Well, then World War II hits and, you know, everything gets turned upside down. So it wasn't until 1947 when Mr. Kikuchi, you know, the founder of Sansui, started his own business. And he actually started out just building electronic components for stereos. And he started out building very high quality transformers. Because remember, y'all, this is back in 1947. The only kind of stereos or mono amplifiers that you had back then was actually tube amplifiers. The transistor or solid state amplifiers did not come out until 1956. So as he's building these transformers for years and years, y'all, I think it was actually 1954 when Sansui finally came out with their full-blown tube preamp and their tube amplifier. And I think it was all the way until 1969 when Sansui built their first solid-state integrated amplifier, the AU-777. That was their very first one. But anyways, I just wanted to go over that with you all because Mr. Kikuchi, he always believed, you know, when you use very good quality, very well built electronics inside of your amplifiers, that, you know, they would last for a long time, you wouldn't have a lot of problems with them, and you would get great sound out of them. I mean, my G-8000 is from 1978. It is 44 years old, you all, And the only thing I have done to this amplifier is, yes, I cleaned all the switches, all the potentiometers. I've done the DC offset to it. I've also done the biasing, also made sure everything's always been perfect, and it still works great. Last 2 years that I have owned the G-8000, I haven't had a single problem go wrong with y'all. It has been so reliable. But here's the thing, nothing lasts forever. The capacitors inside this amplifier, they are 44 years old. And it's not a matter of a question of if a capacitor is going to go bad, but it's a matter of a question of when they're going to go bad. And with this being a very high current amplifier, if one of those capacitors go bad, it can be bad news for the amplifier. I mean, you could burn up the traces in the circuit board. You could actually burn up your main transformer, which that to me is the heart of this beauty and the beast amplifier. But anyways, there's a lot of purists out there that will tell you that if you go through this amplifier and you completely recap it, that it's going to sound more like a new age amplifier, and you're going to lose part of that Sansui sound. And they're absolutely correct, you all. They do not make capacitors today in 2022 like they did back in the 1970s. And capacitors do influence the overall sound of an amplifier. And a lot of purists out there, they will just, maintain their amplifier, have it serviced every couple years, have everything checked out, and if something is going bad, they will only replace that one electronic component, which is kind of, I guess, if you like that older sound. Now, even my good buddy who has a YouTube channel, X-Ray Tony B, I reached out to him and I was like, X-Ray Tony B, hey, well, I said, Tony B, has this ever happened to you? Have you ever recapped an older vintage receiver and then the customer come back to you and said, it doesn't sound as good? Can you put the old capacitors back in it? And Tony B said, yes, TJ, it has happened to me 3 times now. So it does change the sound. So eventually I'm going to have to recap it, but when I do, I'm not going to restore it with the 265 electronic components to restore this amplifier. I mean, that would take me forever. But the protection board, I would probably recap, maybe put some new Omron relays inside. Maybe the power supply I would recap. And I most definitely do want to go in and check out all the 8 different output stage FETs, field effect transistors. Because these transistors, when they were made back in the 70s, they were actually, the inside of them, I was told, actually had lead inside of them. And that's why they don't build these kind of output stage devices anymore in these vintage amplifiers. Kind of a sad story, but anyways, let's get into size, dimension, specs, and what did this bad boy cost? When it came out in 1978, $920 US, you all. That's right, $920 US. Today, if we added inflation all the way to 2022, from 1978, that would be $4,200 today. So yes, this was an expensive piece when it first came out. Now, this amplifier is big, you all. It is 22 inches across. It is 19 inches deep, and it sets up 8 inches high. Again, it's 56 pounds or 25.4 kilograms. So yes, this is not going to fit on your average AV rack. Size, dimensions, and weight of the G-8000, yes, it is a total beast, you all. But not only is it a beast in size, it is a beast in power output. Now, back in the 1970s, the audio manufacturers that were building stereos back then, they were very conservative on their power output rating of their amplifiers. Now, the G-8000 was rated at 120 watts at 8 ohms and 190 watts at 4 ohms. And I'm here to tell you all, I've done my research online. I've seen other YouTubers out there that have used an 8 ohm dummy load to test out this amplifier to see how much power it could really put out in 8 ohms. And it's about 170 to 180 watts. And still keeping underneath 0.05 THD. Now, I know the Vintage Audio Addict, another YouTuber that I love watching, he actually had the G-9000, and he tested that one on his bench, and I think he got close to 185 watts, and he was at 0.03 THD. You all, that is very impressive, especially when I've owned, cheaper amplifiers that claim to be 250 and 300 watts. I mean, I'm talking about amplifiers under $1,000 US that I have bought. The G-8000 would completely blow them out of the water. Remember, it's not a matter of how many watts an amplifier has that matters. What really matters is those quality of watts. So now you all, let's go ahead. I want to go over real quickly what the Sansui G-8000 sounds like subjectively, and then I'm going to have a comparison for you all against my new age, modern, integrated amplifier that when it first came out, it was $3,000 US. Yes, I'm going to compare the G-8000 to my 51.5-pound Yamaha AS-1100. Y'all, before I compare the vintage Sansui G-8000 against my new age Yamaha integrated amplifier, I just real quickly, subjectively, want to go over my opinion of the tonal character and sound performance of the G-8000. I've already reviewed the Yamaha integrated amplifier, and down below in the description box I will upload those video links if you want to watch those videos. I'm still going to compare them. I just want to go over the G-8000 real quick. First off, yes, the G-8000 is on the warm side of neutral, but it's not overly warm sounding. Now, about 2 or 3 months ago, I actually video reviewed 2 other vintage amplifiers from the 1970s. I reviewed my Marantz 2270 and my Yamaha CA810. Now, the Marantz 2270, that is a warm sounding receiver, where the Sansui G-8000 doesn't sound as warm as that Marantz. But the G-8000 does sound just a little bit warmer than the Yamaha CA810. If I had a scale to make this easy, from 1 to 10, 10 meaning the amplifier sounds very warm, and 1 being the amplifier is cool sounding, and 5 is neutral, I would put the Sansui G-8000 on about a 6. I would have put the Marantz 2270 on about a 7, and I would have put the Yamaha CA810 on about a 5.5. So the Sansui, when it comes to the warm side of neutral, it is falling right in between that Marantz and that Yamaha. Just a little touch of warmth. But the thing about this amplifier that really gets me, you all, is that smooth and lush and rich tonal character that this amplifier can produce, out to my speakers. And one thing about this amplifier, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, you all. The low-end bass with this amplifier is big, it is bold, it is muscular. I mean, the bass has real balls to it, you all. The G-8000's frequency response is from 5 Hz, you all, up to 50 kilohertz. And yes, there's a lot of flesh and body to the overall sound. There's a lot of meat on the bone, and bass attack is very well controlled. Dynamics, this may be one of the top 5 best amplifiers I have ever owned when it comes to those dynamics, you all. When I'm sitting back and I'm listening to male and female vocals, I'm almost in shock how natural that they sound. They sound so lifelike to me. And no amplifier is going to sound like real life, but compared to other amplifiers that I have experienced over 30 years, the vocals on this just completely melt me, you all. And not only that, it's the harmonics with this amplifier. The harmonics are amazing, and you do get that holographic sound to it, that holographic imaging that does remind me of tube amplifiers. No, I'm not saying the G-8000 sounds like a tube amplifier, but it does have a little bit of that tubiness sound to it overall. Just a little bit. I mean, I think it's due because Sansui used 8 output stage transistors, the oval ones back in the day that were called the TO3s. And those were known to have kind of, a tubish flavor to the overall sound. Because one thing this amplifier does very well, again, is that holographic imaging, the depth and the center imaging with this amplifier compared to my other amplifiers. You all, it is outstanding. So now, I'm going to do you all a favor. I know some of you all like this, while I'm going over and picking up the 51.5-pound Yamaha to put up here to compare them against each other, sound performance wise. I'm going to go ahead and play you all a 30-second music playback. And I'm going to be playing for you all Torsen Goods. And his track I'm going to be playing is Work Song. That's right, the Work Song. So I want to give all credit to Torsen Goods and his track, Work Song. So let's go.
Wanna see my sweet honey, baby. Wanna break this chain off and run. Wanna lay down somewhere shady. Lord, sir, it's hot in the sun.
Okay, you all got the big Yamaha AS-1100 up on the table, 51.5 pounds. And I just wanted you all to see the size difference. Yes, that Sansui is a beast. Everyone, now it is time for my subjective sound comparison between my vintage Sansui G-8000 from 1978 versus my modern day 51.5-pound integrated amplifier, the Yami, or what you all would call the Yamaha. Now, I'm just going to be comparing them against each other in sound performance. I'm not going to compare them in build quality. Both of these amplifiers are built very well overall. So now, let's get straight into this. But first, I got to talk to you just a little bit about the overall sound of the Yamaha. In case you haven't watched my 2 video reviews, I've already done of the Yamaha. So I'm going to break the Yamaha sound down to you very quickly. Overall, it has a natural sound to it. Just a little bit of warmth. If we had that scale 1 to 10 again, I would put the Yamaha at a 5.5. Meaning, it doesn't sound as warm as the Sansui G-8000 that I gave a score of 6. So yes, the Yamaha does have a little less color to the sound than the Sansui. Also, the Yamaha has good flesh and body to the overall sound. Yamaha did use output stage MOSFETs with this amplifier, you know, giving it that old school analog sound, which I'm so glad Yamaha brought that back. Thank you, Yamaha. But also, the upper mid-range of the Yamaha does have a little bit of a forwardness to it. So you do got to be careful with speaker pairing with the Yamaha. So now, I'm just telling y'all, overall, the Yamaha has like that real life kind of sound to it, like you're at a live concert. You know, it is coming out at you. Okay, so now let's compare the 2 against each other. Let's start with the low-end bass, you all. Start with the Yamaha's low-end bass. The bass output of the Yamaha being compared to my Sansui G-8000. The Yamaha bass is fast, quick, tight, and what I would actually call articulate bass. Bass that has real dimensionality to it. I mean, it is fast, snappy bass. You know, if I had to base it on an actor, I would call the Yamaha Bruce Lee, you know, being really quick bass. Where with the low-end bass of the Sansui G-8000, it's more like Arnold Schwarzenegger when he is Commando. Meaning the bass with the G-8000 goes lower than the Yamaha. It sounds more powerful, it digs deeper, it has more of that bold kind of bass sound to it. It may not be as fast or as tight or as quick as the Yamaha, but the Sansui, it is more powerful bass. It is more robust overall. But don't get me wrong, the bass in the Yamaha isn't lean at all. It's just the bass with the Sansui is very big. Now, I know the capacitors inside this vintage G-8000 is 44 years old. And if I went through there and changed out the filter caps, redone the driver cards inside, yes, the bass probably would be a little faster and a little bit tighter with the G-8000. But that is the difference in between the two. Yes, there's more heft overall with the G-8000, but you get better speed with the Yamaha. So now, when it comes to that mid-range, as I was just telling you on that scale, 1 to 10, 10 being very warm sounding, 1 being very cool sounding, that the Yamaha was like a 5.5 and the Sansui was like a 6. So even when it comes to the mid-range, yes, the Yamaha has a little bit less color and the G-8000 has a little bit more color to it overall. But when it comes to male and female vocals, you all, the G-8000 shines like a star. I'm not kidding with you all. I am blown away with the vocals of the Sansui. I'm not saying the vocals of the Yamaha sound bad. They sound good. Just to me, with all the different set of speakers that I have, the Sansui G-8000 just sounds a little bit better. Now, the Sansui overall, it does have more of a balanced sound to it. Again, the Yamaha presents a forward presentation in that upper mid-range, which sometimes I actually like because it actually puts the singer in front of, all the musical instruments or the band that is playing. Mid-range of the Sansui G-8000, I get more of that smooth, lush, and rich kind of sound character with it. Now with the Yamaha, I do get a little bit of richness also, but the Yamaha doesn't have that lushness to it. It doesn't sound as smooth as the G-8000. Again, the Yamaha is more like you're at a real live concert kind of sound. Now when we talk about the top end, or what I like to basically call the upper treble, when it comes to clarity and detail refinement, here's one of the strong points of the Yamaha. Yes, the Yamaha has just a little bit better clarity and detail refinement. Even instrument separation is a little bit better with the Yamaha. Again, it's not as colorful sounding as the Sansui is. But here's the one thing that gets me with the Sansui, you all, that blows me away, is how the Sansui digs deep into those micro details. I mean, I was shocked because, I'm listening to music that I listen to all the time, and I'm hearing things with the Sansui that I don't hear with the Yamaha. And that really shocked me, you all. And then when it comes to the soundstage, overall, the depth of the soundstage, I gotta give the W or the win to the Sansui G-8000. It really helps my speakers to have very good depth. But when it comes to airiness in the soundstage, I gotta give the W to the Yamaha. The Yamaha is a very airy sounding kind of amplifier. And again, the top end of the Yamaha when it comes to detail refinement and clarity, yes, it is more revealing sounding, but the Sansui's just a little bit more forgiving. Yes, I can play, not so good recording with the Sansui G-8000, and it'll help cover it up a little bit more than the Yamaha. The Yamaha's a little bit more revealing than the Sansui. Now, when I was telling you all about the detail refinement and the overall clarity, I was telling you the Yamaha done just a little bit better of a job. Because I don't want you to get confused with the Sansui G-8000, the top end. Now, I did tell you the mid-range has this rich, lush, smooth sound to it, but that doesn't mean that the top end of the amplifier is going to be laid back. The top end of the Sansui has a lot of excitement to it. It does have a lively sound to it, but it doesn't push it to the limit that it can sound overly sharp or fatiguing over long periods of time. And yes, this will have depend on the speakers you're using also. I'm just talking about comparing them against each other. The Sansui is almost as lively as the Yamaha in the top end. The Yamaha's just a little bit more lively in that regard. I just want to make sure people get that, Because this Sansui, yes, it still has very good detail refinement and very good clarity overall. And you all, it's one of the most engaging amplifiers I have owned in the last 30 years. It's just so pleasing to listen to the Sansui. To dynamics, y'all, comparing these two amplifiers against each other, it was very hard for me to decide which one had better dynamics. I really had to tune in and tune out when I was A/B testing them against each other. And I'm slightly, barely going to give the edge to the Sansui G-8000. The thing is, with the Sansui G-8000, it also has a little bit more meat on the bone, meaning the musical notes have a little bit better density to them. But you all, I'm not saying that the Yamaha sounds lean, because it doesn't sound lean at all. The Yamaha does have some real heft to it as well. But when it comes to that sound stage again, you all, the Yamaha with my speakers present, a bigger, airier, wider sound stage with my speakers than the G-8000. But the G-8000 may not be as big as a sound stage, but the sound stage is more concentrated. It may be a smaller sound stage, but it's got better layering and better depth overall. So, yes, the Yamaha does present a bigger sound stage, but the smaller sound stage of the Sansui is just more concentrated, basically. So that's my comparison, you all. And yes, I did catch the Sansui fever again. And if you ever try a big boy Sansui, you may catch that fever as well. Now, that pretty much wraps that part of the video up. If you all have any questions at all, please just ask me down in the comment section. And if somebody asks me personally which amplifier that I like better, yes, I will tell you if you ask me. Because to me, these videos are about finding out what you like the best, not what I like the best. So now, it is time for that close-up look and pop the hood and pop the trunk. So let's go. Okay, you all, let's start with the front panel on the far left-hand side. As you can see here in the corner, it says Sansui Pure Power DC Stereo Receiver G-8000. Okay, you all, I'll turn the light down a little bit because I want to turn the amplifier on over here with this power switch. I want you all to see the lights come on, and you'll see the protect light also, and you'll hear the soft start relays kick over once it powers on. This is a high current amplifier, so it does have a little bit of a soft start. Here we go. And there you have it. So you've seen it had a little bit of a soft start. Up here we have our speakers A and speakers B, and individually you can turn them off and on. Below that we have our bass, mid-range, and treble tone controls. Listen to the quality, you all. I absolutely love that. Then over here we have tone control defeat, which is basically bypasses all the tone controls. You can turn that off and on. Then we have audio muting that will mute it, down from -20 dB. Then next we have our nice volume control that goes from 0 to 100. Listen to this, you all. Yeah, I never had it turned up that loud. Loudest I ever had it turned, about right there with my JBL Studio 580s. Okay, then over here in the middle, let's get a better look. Okay, I wanted to get the middle in good for you all. We have our loudness control button. And to me, that's what I call my God tier button, you all. That's right, because when I hit this loudness button, oh my goodness, you get a big boost in the low end bass all the way up to the bottom of the mid-range. I mean, you get a big boost. Then the upper mid-range and treble, there's just slightly a boost. I love this loudness control. And you can use these filters, turn them off and on, even though that you had these tone controls bypassed. Okay, next to that is our subsonic filter. Basically, when you push this in, that is going to turn off all the frequencies below 15 hertz. And this is basically to help with vinyl records. It helps them not to have that low frequency rumble. Next to that, like it says, high, what that does when you push that in, you all about 13, 14 kilohertz, it starts to roll off very hard. Now, one of my favorite dials on the whole amplifier, the tuning dial, I've got to show you all this better. Okay, I turned some lights off so you can see this tuner dial. Y'all see that little piece, like that little hole there to get to the screw to take this off? Watch that when it goes around. I'm just going to spin it. See how it keeps going, you all, if you spin it just a little hard? That is precision, my friends. And one thing I do want to say right now, I almost forgot, is that FM tuner with this receiver absolutely sounds amazing. They do not build tuners today like they did in the 70s. They do build amplifiers just as good, and if not even better. But when it comes to FM tuners, it's hard to beat these old monster receivers. Okay, let's go to the far right. And all this is pretty much self-explanatory. You got your FM muting on off, your mode, stereo or mono, your Dolby FM de-emphasize, MPX noise canceller. You have your selector here at the bottom, and when you go through your selector, you'll see the lights at the top come on when I choose that input. And yes, everything works beautifully. Then in the middle, we have our 4-channel adapter. I think that's where you can hook up, more speakers to it. Another amplifier. And then we have our tape monitor, basically. And you can hear the quality of these are very, very good. And another cool feature is a microphone input here. And above it, you actually have your microphone mixing level, which you can mix, if you're using a microphone, you're singing along with a song or any kind of music, then you can really tune in the volume level to what you have the volume on the amplifier as. Alright, y'all. And here's a close look at those VU meters. I know a lot of you all love VU meters, just like me. Going all the way up to 300 watts peak. Then over here we have our tuning and signal meter. Pretty cool. Again, you all, the FM sounds very good on this Sansui G-8000. And in the dark, this baby looks gorgeous. Alright, let's go to the side. Okay, over here on the far left-hand side, you see we have all our inputs. I want to get this in good for you all. Okay, again, here's all your FM antennas you can screw down. Here's the auxiliary input I use. Here's your 1, 2 phono inputs, and you have a nice ground as well. And up here, this is just all your tape inputs. That's all that is. Then down below here, you actually have a cable management tray, because the whole back part of the amplifier, you all, is nothing but a heatsink. So our speaker outputs are on the other side. Here's that cable management. You can put your cables through here. Okay, here we are on the other side, our speaker outputs. And as you can see, yes, I'm using some pigtails. Actually ordered these off Amazon. I think it was $9 for 4 of them. I think I ordered 2 or 3 packs when I got them. The other side, it does have thick wire on the other side, and I can use this with my banana plug, sprays, or even bare wire if I wanted to. Here's one of the very cool features of the amplifier. I can either use it as a dedicated preamp or a dedicated power amp. I have a switch here on the side to do that. Here's your outputs for preamp and inputs for power amp. If you wanted to use a different preamp and use the Sansui's amplifier, you can do that. But I would recommend people, if you ever go clean all the switches, make sure you clean this switch as well. When I first got this amplifier, I cleaned everything up, and I was still having one channel go out on me every once in a while on the left side. I cleaned this up very good, and that completely went away. And again, we have cable management for your speaker cables down here on the bottom. Alright, let's go to the back. Okay, you all, here's the back of the amplifier, and as you can see, it is a complete heatsink. You have 4 output stage transistors on this side, and those are those Sanken TO3s, the oval shape one. And then you have 4 more on this side. And also, let's take a good look at this logo. Of course, it was built in Japan. I got a little paint back here on the heatsink, you all. Then you have these where you can actually set the amplifier straight up in the air. And when you do this, it won't even hurt the cable management with your inputs and speaker outputs. Pretty cool to do. So now, let's pop the hood. Okay, you all, it is time for a look inside. And one of the first things you're going to notice is this huge toroidal transformer that is also encapsulated. Let me give you a good reference. And here's a can of Campbell's bean with bacon soup. And as you can see, that toroidal is huge, you all. And Sansui was always known to build very good transformers. Also, on each side, you're going to see we have 4 different banks of high filter caps. These are Nichicon, so we have a total of 8 of them. And if you look down in there, you will see it actually has copper clamps to hold them in place. And on the other side of them, when I pop the trunk, you will see they are point-to-point wiring, you all. That is impressive. And if I go back here to the back, you can see here's the output stage transistors. Do need to clean it just a little bit down there, but you can see those are also point-to-point wiring, something you don't see much of these days until you get into very high-end audio. And here I have my driver card. Over here on the other side we have our driver card. It's completely encased for lower noise. Over here in this corner, right here, this is our soft start. And to get in here to rebuild any of this, because this relay down here does like to go out inside these. This one hasn't yet for the soft start, but all these cables just pull right off, making it really easy to work on. Another cool thing up here in the front that you'll see all this copper plating, that is actually the tuner, the AM and FM tuner. And it is on its own plate that mounts over here on this side, and there is your FM AM antenna. And also it mounts down on this side, and it mounts down right here in the middle as well. And yes, most of the capacitors in this amplifier are Nichicons. We have more Nichicons over here. I don't know if that's some kind of rectification or what right there. But anyways, that's the top of the amplifier. So now let's go pop the trunk. Oh, the total capacitance, these capacitors are 6,800 microfarads each, giving us a total of 54,400. Now I have many people tell me that the toroidal transformer was 900 VA, but I had a guy from Japan say it was 1200 VA, and I had another guy tell me it was 685 VA. All I know is it's very large. Okay, you all, let's pop the trunk of this almost 60-pounder. Sorry about that. Okay, you all, here's the bottom of the amplifier. I gotten it setting up from the back of the amp. As you can see, we have 5 legs on the bottom to help with almost 60 pounds of weight. Alright, let's take the cover off. Okay, I got the bottom cover off, but here's the top cover before I forget to show you all. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I almost forgot this. And that is a vinyl wrap. And here's the inside of the vinyl wrap. Yeah, it's built pretty well, And oh my goodness, here we have it, you all. One of the first things you'll see is the amplifier does have a divider that goes all the way across the amp. Again, the bottom piece is your amplifier, the top is your tuner and preamp. Let's go over here and we'll look at those high filter caps from the bottom. And as you all can see, yes, they are point-to-point wiring on the bottom of those filters. That was pretty crazy when I seen that. Basically, here's your protection board, arm-run relays. We got 3 of them there. There's more Nichicon blues everywhere. Then this over here, look at the size of these resistors. I mean, there's a lot of current coming here. Here's the other side of the high filter caps. But what makes this amp somewhat easy to work on, you all, is all the different circuit boards have their own plugs. You'll see this throughout the whole amp. Then if we come on down a little bit, you see these 4 little pieces here and 4 on the other side. That's your output stage transistors. A lot of cabling inside. There's that divider, and we come over here. This one's completely shielded. This is your phono preamplifier. And if we look on up here, this is actually going to be like your preamp, but they actually call it your control amp unit. But that is your preamp. We sneak in here, you'll see the volume control has its own circuit board. Let me get that in good. There y'all go. And it does have 2 potentiometers on the volume control. It's pretty good. They use their own board. Then this board over here is going to be your selector board. And again, you all, if you want to get in here and take these boards out, all you got to do is pull these off. See, we got all copper pins in there. This makes it really easy to pull out each circuit inside here. Again, we have more copper inside here. But yeah, that's pretty much all of y'all. Sorry about that. I want to get this in good for you. So I guess this wraps this long video